I hope you and your near and dear ones are all keeping safe and healthy. On the earnings call today, I am joined by my colleague, Mr. Ankur Modi. We hope you have had a chance to look at our financial results and presentation that is uploaded on the stock exchange as well as the company website. I will briefly speak about the business landscape and then update on our performance in the preceding quarter, following which we will be happy to respond to your queries. As you know, Government of India recently approved the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, so-called PLI, for automobile and auto component industry, with total budgetary outlay of around 26,000 crores. As per the scheme, minimum qualifying investment for auto component sector is 250 crores over 5 years, with minimum determined sales of 25 crores. The qualifying companies also have to demonstrate 10% year-on-year growth on minimum determined sales value. The qualifying companies can avail 8 to 13% incentive of determined sales value. The government is yet to prescribe a list of components qualifying under the scheme. We believe that the scheme will help accelerate focus and development of advanced technologies locally, increase competitiveness, and facilitate rapid adoption of electric vehicles. We, as a growing organization, will continue to invest in advanced technologies and products. However, qualification of this investment under PLI will depend on final prescribed component list. Normally, the festive season sales record peak sales during the year, but this year the unprecedented supply chain disruptions, fuel price hikes, increase in input costs, consequent vehicle price rise, etc., marred the September and October sales, as a result of which PV dispatches to dealers were affected because the supply did not equal or surpass the consumer demand. The global semiconductor supply constraint continues to be a challenge, resulting in lower production across the industry. Semiconductor shortage started in early 21 due to surge in electronic devices, especially during COVID-19. With modest capacity addition in last few years, semiconductor was not ready to meet such surge in demand. COVID-19 related supply chain disruption along with trade restrictions by some countries further aggravated the situation. This resulted in product cut or halt by majority of the domestic and global OEMs, consequently adversely impacting auto component industry sales. We are seeing some signs of improvement with easing of supply chain disruption. We believe the shortage may persist well into 2022. However, we do expect gradual improvement. On the optimistic front, consumer demand has been positive across segments. Two-wheeler wholesales have improved month on month, and commercial vehicle sales are witnessing a gradual recovery. Green shoots can be seen in CV segment with increasing traction in multi-axle vehicle, along with recovery in freight rates. Current Rabi crop preparations and high reservoir level bode well for the industry due to the boost in rural spending power. Moving to key operational highlights, you may refer to slide 6. It gives me immense pleasure to inform that the company's determined efforts and COVID-linked initiatives have led to 100% employees completing the first doses of vaccination and around 96% of employees completing full vaccination, appropriately supported with the best possible safety measures at all our sites across the globe. While we did have a headlamp business from an Indian OEM, we are happy to inform that we have secured first ever LED multifaceted reflector headlamp from a Japanese OEM for a PV, with SOP expected in early 2024. We have added 2 more EV two-wheeler, three-wheeler specific products, which is residual current cable, or commonly called as RCD cable, and acoustic vehicle alert systems. 3 products moved from under development to under production. We have also added new age two-wheeler EV OEM as a customer. We are glad to inform of being bestowed upon with AMROP ET Best Board Award for Corporate Governance and Board Leadership. Such recognitions also encourages us to continuously raise the bar of best practices, transparency, and corporate governance. Recently, Minda Industries has also been certified a great place to work. This is the testimony of building and sustaining high trust and high performance culture of our company. Moving to slide 8 and 9 on EV. The EV space in India is witnessing unprecedented traction with momentum across all parts of the value chain. Add-on incentives by state governments are helping bridge the cost gap between ICE and EV segment. This plays in well with company's positioning owing to its EV agnostic portfolio and additional EV specific product portfolio. The focus, however, remains on the two-wheeler and three-wheeler segment due to expected faster rate of adoption in comparison to PVs. Our EV initiatives have further progressed with 3 more EV specific products, i.e. onboard charger, BCM and BMS, moved from under development to production stage. We now have 5 EV specific products along with smart plug and telematics under production. With these products moving to production, the kit value of products under production has increased to 16,500 from 4,500 in last quarter. While DC-DC converter remain under development, we have added 2 more new EV specific products as we just briefly touched in the highlights, which is RCD cable and acoustic vehicle alert system under development stage, adding another 2,000 rupees as kit value. RCD cable is used to protect against shock, faulty currents and fire hazards during EV charging. The company is looking to completely localize the RCD cable manufacturing. The RCD cable complements our complete charging solutions for EV along with smart plug. Acoustic vehicle alert system generates and plays pre-installed artificial combustion engine sound specific to various modes. Different sounds can be calibrated and customized as per customer needs. It will take around a year for development of these products. Now our kit value for product under production along with existing products stands at 25,900 rupees with 2,400 for product under development. As we see a paradigm shift in automotive domain from IC engines to electric and autonomous technologies, also there is a drastic shift in lighting technology. Uno Minda is at forefront in driving the changes in automotive lighting technology developed to automate, adapt and enhance vehicle for safety and better driving. Slide 10 showcase some of the innovative products developed by us. This includes front panel illumination with sensor integration capability for ADAS, advanced overhead console, and smart automotive wireless charger. Coming to our financial and operational performance, you can refer to slide number 12. At a consolidated level, revenue from operation for the quarter increased by 30% year-on-year to 2,114 crores from rupees 1,632 crores in Q2 FY21. The company has managed to display a growth in revenue both YOY as well as sequentially, with revenue at 1,603 crores for Q1 FY22, while volume growth of auto industry remains flat on year-on-year basis. The company reported 30% growth largely on account of addition of two-wheeler alloy wheel sales, growth at all businesses including aftermarket division except at acoustics business in Spain, and the price increase on account of increase in raw material prices. EBITDA for the quarter was 228 crores, same as in corresponding quarter last year. While EBITDA has remained flat, EBITDA margin for current quarter declined to 10.8% from 14% in comparison to corresponding quarter last year. There are 3 key reasons why we believe which has actually impacted the lower EBITDA margin compared to last year. First being sustained raw material and commodity price increase for last 9 to 10 months. While we are largely able to pass on the RM price increase to customers in line with various agreements, which usually happens in with 1 or 2 quarter lag. So while we might get the previous quarter or 6 months average price, spot prices if higher than average impacts negatively. Second, while we do recover the raw material price increase from customer in absolute value term, it is still margin dilutive as recovery is in absolute amount, which increases the sales value to the extent of the cost. So your numerator in terms of cost also increases and the denominator as well. So that also is a little bit margin dilutive. Even though absolute profit is same, in percentage terms, it will be little lower. The third measure being last year, as you know, we had salary rationalization in place, and this year we had normal increases in addition to salary reinstatements. Further, while production was lower on account of production cuts from OEMs, in some of the businesses we still have had to maintain some excess manpower due to higher indents originally, and to ensure readiness for higher production once volume come back. Interest cost for Q2 FY22 includes rupees 4 crores of interest provided for RPS issued to shareholders of Harita pursuant to merger. However, since RPS were redeemed during the quarter itself, the same was reversed. However, as per Ind AS, it was booked as other income. So you have interest cost of additional of 4 crores and other income additional 4 crores. So it's a contra there. Excluding interest on RPS, interest cost for the quarter is at 13.6 crore, which is lower than 18.7 crore reported in Q2 of FY21 on account of repayment of part of our borrowings from QIP proceeds. Depreciation increased by around 6 crores to 97 crore as against 90 odd crores in previous quarter on account of higher utilization of certain plants and subsequently charging depreciation on 3 basis. Primarily, the high depreciation is on account of capitalization of couple of lines in Supa for AW2W, which was not there in the last year. The profit after tax, which is MIL share for the quarter, was at 95 crore as against 86 crores in Q2 FY21. While we do look at ROCE on annual basis, just for information, ROCE for Q2, if we have to analyze, it stands at 18.1%. Coming to the business segment-wise performance, moving to the product lines, starting with switching systems, you may refer to slide number 18. The segment achieved revenues of 649 crores for Q2, contributing about 31% of consolidated revenues. We have further received orders from Korean OEM for four-wheeler switches. We have also received export order from an Italian two-wheeler OEM. Moving to lighting business, slide 19. It has achieved revenue of 454 crores for Q2, contributing to 21% of our consolidated revenues. We are happy to report, as we have touched base in earlier highlights as well, having secured first ever LED order from a Japanese OEM. Earlier we were only with domestic OEM. We have also received additional orders from a leading Indian PV OEM for LED tail lamps and DRL for SUV and compact SUV. These new orders further solidifies our position and will help increase our share of business gradually. Moving to acoustics, our acoustic business has achieved revenue of 154 crores for Q2, contributing 7% of our consolidated revenues. A large part of the revenues for acoustic business comes from our European subsidiary Clarton, where European auto industry underperformed significantly due to semiconductor shortage, resulting in lower volumes for acoustic business. So while the Indian business did well, the Spain business was quarter-on-quarter lower by almost 25%. Moving to our casting business, it has achieved revenue of 320 crores for Q2, contributing to 15% of our consolidated revenues. We have completed trial run of our LPDC line with 15K capacity. Model launch of customer is slightly delayed, hence SOP is now expected in Jan 22. We have initiated trial run for fourth line for two-wheeler alloy wheel plant at Supa. The new line is expected to commission by next quarter. Moving to our fitting business, which achieved revenue of 243 crores for Q2, contributing 12% of our consolidated revenues. Fitting business revenues were higher as CV and two-wheeler segment were least impacted by current semiconductor shortage. In fact, we are seeing good recovery in CV segment with volume, 25% volume growth during quarter YOY basis. The company also received orders for suspended seats. The suspended seats provide better comfort and safety to driver. In fact, considering safety of driver, certain European countries have also made suspended seat mandatory. Moving to other product businesses, which has achieved revenue of 293 crores for Q2, contributing 14% of overall top line. Other businesses mainly comprise of sensors, blow molding business, ICIS, battery, catalog and aftermarket. The trading part. The share of profit and loss of associates, joint ventures for Q2 FY22 is at 21.2 crores against 10 crores in Q2 FY21. Our infotainment JV with Denso, our safety systems JV with TG, our CNG product JV with Minda Westport and filter product JV with Roki Minda all have contributed positively, while Minda TTE DAPS and Kosei Minda Aluminium lagged. In terms of our revenue pie for the quarter ended 30th September, OEM business accounted for 89% and aftermarket business at around 11% for Q2. Our aftermarket division has done well with revenues of 225 crores as against 173 crore in Q2 FY21. Aftermarket was also least impacted by semiconductor issue, hence clocked good revenue growth. We continue to strengthen our aftermarket division with adding more products like alloy wheel and aftermarket. We are also increasing our focus and efforts in aftermarket branding and marketing. Our sales from international markets, i.e. export from India plus sales from overseas operations, stands at 14% of total consolidated revenues. Moving to our cash flows and debt levels, our net debt as of September 30th was at 388 crores compared to 803 at March 21, and our net debt to equity stands at 0.11. Moving to slide 26 on strategic business update. First being merger of Minda iConnect with Minda Industries. The schedule was filed with NCLT in Q1 FY22. Court to convene shareholders and creditors meeting expected to be scheduled by end of December 21. The merger is expected to get completed in next 6 months or so. Second being Europe restructuring. We are undertaking corporate restructuring of our European subsidiaries, i.e. LSTC Spain, ESIS RTS, GmbH and Delvis entities to derive synergies and realign product and engineering business separately. Under corporate restructuring, it is proposed to merge ISIS RTS into Minda Delvis in first step and subsequently create 2 separate entities under merged entity. First entity for carrying our product business and second entity to carry out engineering business. The corporate restructuring will help create distinctive businesses for product and engineering companies and remove any overlap of businesses between these 2 entities. Third being Minda TTE Labs. The company had formed a joint venture with TTE Taiwan to localize controller and related sensor in India. However, since localization could not be achieved, I think we have been discussing this in past calls as well, the business continued more as a trading. Since we don't require a separate JV and entity for trading, we are transferring all the business of Minda TTE Labs to the company, which is MIL. The company is also entering into sale and purchase agreement with TTE to ensure business continuity. Pursuant to the same, we will also dissolve the said JV and reduce the cost of separate legal entity and related compliances. We, however, continue to work on various ADAS products and have also secured a large camera business from a domestic OEM. Moving to a slide, you can refer 28 to 30 on. We first start with ESG. As you all know, ESG has gained prominence in last few years. However, we have been working on these areas for more than a decade now. We have installed rooftop solar installation across our plants, which along with solar power plants through open access is meeting almost 20% of our energy requirement for these plants. And by year 2025, we are targeting to achieve 40% of our energy requirement through solar energy. We are also running water conservation projects across plants. We have already reduced our water consumption by 10% with aim to increase further in coming years. A green belt plantation drive is undertaken across plants. We target to have 40% green area for new plants. We also run a charitable trust for upliftment of underprivileged and women empowerment. Today, through our charitable trust, we touched and benefited roughly 12,000 people from 18 villages across 7 states in India. We run programs which support more than 150 self-help group women for earning their livelihood through mask making, apron making, and sale of other products. That's all from me. We now open the floor for questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may enter star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ashutosh Tiwari from Equirus Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Firstly, thanks for the new PPT format. I think it's much more clearer to see the numbers in detail. On the question side, so the first is that in this alloy wheel, the casting, the LFP division, what was the basically sales of two-wheeler alloy wheels and four-wheeler alloy wheels in the quarter?
Sorry, you are asking what is two-wheel sale in the quarter?
In the LMT, the alloy wheel sales LMT, what was the two-wheeler alloy wheel sales in the quarter?
Yeah, two-wheeler in the quarter was roughly 70 crores or so.
70, so it's ramped up very well. Okay. And four-wheeler?
Four-wheeler roughly around 190 or so.
Okay. And secondly, we also have seen good ramp up improvement in profitability of associates. In this quarter, it has gone back to Q4 levels. So which associate has contributed more to this improvement?
I think, as I said, Ashutosh, I think all of them have worked better. What has helped also is that some of the entities which were actually in red have lower or improved in their profitability. So we have actually seen the share of profit increase almost across the board, barring, in fact, as I mentioned, while the couple of entities which were in loss, like we do mention TTE and MKI, even there, relatively the loss has been lower. So all this has helped.
And there is no element of price increases that we received for previous quarters in this?
No, so that's a running basis now. So while we would have received little bit of price increase for previous quarter, there is little bit of price increase for Q2 also, which would have spilled over to next quarter. So if you see on a net basis, there is no significant impact.
Okay. And lastly, on this lighting order that you received, now basically in terms of this order that you received in total, what would be the potential revenue, say, in FY24 from these new orders, all orders put together?
All these new orders put together are, as of now, more than 300 crores.
Okay, 300 crores lighting. This is mainly headlamp orders, right?
No, earlier what we have been getting were all LED tail lamps. We have got one headlamp for LED, which was a domestic OEM. Now we have got from a Japanese OEM.
Okay. And this aftermarket revenue, which we have seen good improvement last year, and in this quarter we've seen good jump going back to, say, last year Q3 levels. Is it like, can we see here further quarter-on-quarter improvement in Q3 as well? How do you see the aftermarket ramping up basically over next, say, 3-4 quarters?
Yeah, so if you see, Ashutosh, aftermarket on an annual basis, definitely we'll continue to grow in double digits. Quarter-on-quarter is a little difficult to comment because normally what happens in Q3, you tend to have, if I see past also, a sales little bit lower than Q2 because in Q2, because of festive season and all that, there are a lot of refreshes and all the parts replacement, etc. But Q3 normally the sales are little lower than Q2. But what we are internally working is we should actually see some improvement in Q3 as well. And if you see on an annual basis, we are having pretty aggressive plans. And as I shared also, we are going to sort of start a big branding campaign specifically targeting the aftermarket segment.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot and all the best.
Thanks, Ashutosh.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mukesh Saraf from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. Firstly, is on your EV products that you have given some details on. It's good to see that you have more products now under production as well as under development. First question is on the BMS and BCM that now you've started under production. Could you give us some sense on, initially would these have more of imported components that, you would have to work with and probably later look to localize some of those. So how does this work, sir? I mean, in terms of costing and margins for us?
No, I won't comment on costing and margin, Mukesh, as of now, because I think we are at a stage where the volumes are obviously very, very low.
Sure.
The volumes are not very, very significant. But I can say in terms of localization, as you know, our always endeavor has been to sort of see gradually we localize most of the components. But we all know that the biggest components in all the electronics is the semiconductor, which we continue to import as a country. And even if somebody has to set up a capacity, it takes a good 2 to 3 years. So in the medium term, we have no choice but to continue import of primarily all the semiconductors and chips.
And apart from the semiconductors, most of it is localized, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Right.
We'll be localizing gradually because initially you have a little bit of imports like magnets, thermistors, capacitors. But that also we are trying to see how we can gradually either localize or maybe move or diverse our supply chain as well.
Right. Understood. And related to this, when we say products under development, is it fair to say that we are working, there is an OEM already working with us on that product?
Yes. So normally, as you know, Mukesh, whatever products we invest in, we always try and have an anchor customer. So we do have anchor customers for products which are under development.
Right. Understood that. And when I look at the others segment for you, you've touched now close to 290 odd crores. Last quarter, I think you had mentioned that sensors and controllers out of that was around 40 odd crores. How would that number be this time, sir?
You are referring to in this quarter, how much is sensor and controller?
Yeah, correct.
Sensor and controller. Don't have controller number readily available with me unless Ankur, if you have a sensor, I remember it was around 55 crores.
Okay.
Controller, yeah. So central controller put together is around 68 crores.
Right. So that's again ramping up back to the earlier level. So that is good to see. And on price hikes, I think specifically last time around you had mentioned that seating was an area where it was getting slightly tough to get the entire price hikes for the commodities. Now with some improvement in, say, commercial vehicles and some of the other areas that we are supplying, has that situation improved for the seating systems in terms of price hikes?
Yeah, so yes, while partly yes and partly no, Mukesh, and I'm trying to be honest. So as I was saying that while we would have got the price for some of the customers for previous quarter or previous 6 months, but spot, unfortunately, in a lot of the components, especially seating is mostly steel. While there has been some softening, but it has not significant. So it's still either at the average or above average price. So that continues to impact the seating business. And we do expect seating business to have gradual improvement in coming quarter in terms of its margins.
Margins. Okay. Understood. And just last bit, you had said that by November 30th, you'll want to get some update on this Uzchassis acquisition. Any updates there at all?
Give us a week or two more because I think we have been having tough negotiations with the sellers.
Right.
So things are little in a gray area now. I won't say it's certain, but we will confirm that. But probability is reducing actually.
Okay, got this. Thanks for this. I'll get back in the queue.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amyn Pirani from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Yes, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. My question was, mostly related to slide 11, in which you've given, a very detailed breakup of the EV kit value. Just a question. So, I mean, basically 28,300 is the potential EV kit value that you can do after all the product under development come into production. Is that a correct way of understanding that?
Yes.
And 7,300 is what you are already doing for ICEs, and that can be fitted into EVs.
Yes.
Is there anything that you're doing right now which could get, replaced? Is there any ICE thing that you're doing right now, or all your ICEs is fully compatible with EV as of now?
Okay. So actually, we used to have one slide which we have removed from this presentation. If you want, we can separately share with you. So there is a slide. It's also there on the website. Ankur, if you can send separately to Amin as well. So we have made a slide which shows all our components today which goes into IC engine, what will go into EV and what will not. So as of now, if you see from Minda Industries console perspective, all the products which are there in MIL will go into EV. We have a couple of joint ventures, which is one is the filter for Roki Minda, for which revenue does not get consolidated, and other is Minda Westport, which does the CNG kit. So these two products, these two entities, revenue anyway doesn't get consolidated in MIL because they are joint ventures, and these are the two components which have obviously no requirement in EV, both filters and CNG. So other than that, almost every product will be actually agnostic to the type of energy it runs on.
Understood. So the starting point of 7,300 is basically a net, which excludes all of that.
Exclude all of that, yes.
Understood. And just one more, a clarification, which is related to slide 8. So basically you're saying that battery management system is something which is a new product. So when you supply battery management system, so how does it work? Have you developed this, or is the IP lying with the OEM and they have shared it with you and you're just manufacturing? How does the arrangement work on this?
Yeah. So if you see this slide, there is a small word mentioned AMP. So AMP is our technology partner based out of US. It's a niche technology player. It's a very boutique firm. And this product is developed along with AMP and Minda Industries in our R&D center at CREAT. So its product is developed fully by us.
Okay. So basically the OEM is basically, taking it from you and fitting it into their overall basically system.
That's right. But obviously whatever OEM needs customization, that has to be.
Okay. So this also means that you can do the same thing, you can scale it up to other OEMs with just minor customizations. You don't have to develop it again for a different OEM, basically.
Absolutely.
Understood. That's very helpful, sir. Thank you. I'll get back in the queue.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nikhil Kale from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. My question was first on the lighting order win. So you mentioned about LED multifaceted display headlamp order. So if you could just throw some more color on this, how is this product different from the existing lights, content-wise, what is the difference? And also in terms of any numbers of or volumes that you're looking at for this order.
Yeah. So I won't be able to share volumes as of now, Nikhil. You know very well that I'm sure if I share volume, you will be able to guess who is the customer. So let us park that, because that is also depending on customers' reach, etc., model, etc. But ballpark, I can share that we are expecting revenue of that lamp, annualized peak revenue, more than 50 crores of that one lamp. In terms of why it is important for us, is that first of all, if you remember, a couple of years back, Minda, for us, it was very difficult to even get a headlamp business, a halogen headlamp business. We are mostly into all other lamps but for headlamp. Now today we have reached a situation where we are getting not only headlamp, but we are getting the top technology headlamps primarily in the LED space as well. And we have actually got earlier a headlamp LED business from a domestic OEM. This is the first with a Japanese OEM. So it makes a significant milestone for us, because then it also opens up door for future such business, because gradually every vehicle is now moving from halogen to LED, and this will sort of establish ourselves as a full technology provider which has got everything what a customer wants. In fact, I think I have shared earlier also, our technology company, which is Delvis in Europe, it also already has a a laser lamp. So, which is way ahead of time. We don't know when will we see laser lamp being productionized. But that's where we are in terms of technology. And today we are very happy that it actually now cement our position in the PV headlamp business.
Yeah, good to hear that. And secondly, on the seating side, so if I look at the revenues were broadly similar to Q4 levels. Despite, if I just compare the production for CVs and two-wheelers, Q4 was a seasonally strong quarter for CV production, and yet we have kind of matched the revenue on that front. So, are there any new orders or new customers that we have started already supplying, or is it more driven due to price increases? What is driving that?
So, as I shared, Nikhil, we have added one new customer for seating. Primarily that also for suspended seat. Just to tell you, suspended seat is almost like 4x of the traditional seat, because it has got the suspension are normally two types. One is mechanical and another is pneumatic. But both of them, the cost is significantly higher than a traditional seat. And that we have got from a off-road customer. So we are actually gradually adding new customers to seating business. We already have almost like 3 or 4, I don't know exactly, new age EV players also, where we are providing seating to them. So we have been adding customers in our seating business.
Okay. In this, one more question on the lighting side, what would be Delvis revenues for the quarter?
In the lighting side, what is the Delvis revenues?
Yeah.
Delhi revenues for the quarter was roughly around 55 crores or so.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Participants, we request you to limit your questions to 2 per participant. The next question is from the line of Ronak Sada from Systematics. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Sunil, first question on the alloy wheel business. Given how the production from your key customers were restricted in this quarter, so how was the alloy wheel revenues, let's say in Q2 of last year versus this year? So has there been a significant decline? You mentioned 160 crores for this quarter, right? Or did I hear it correctly?
You are referring to
Four-wheeler alloy. Four-wheeler alloy.
So four-wheel was more. Four-wheeler, if I remember, it's 190, I guess. 190 plus.
And how was this versus last?
Last year, four-wheeler was in same quarter was 122.
122.
Yes.
Okay. So what explains this very strong, given how the production was also constrained this quarter? So this is driven by more of new orders, or this is like price escalation also has led to this sharp jump?
So definitely there is a component of price escalation. You are 100% right, head on. But even if you exclude that price escalation, there is a significant growth in the PV four-wheel. This is primarily because of not only new orders, but also the increased penetration, which I think we have been talking for past few years. The consistent increase in penetration of alloy wheel versus steel wheel, that has been creating the demand. And also, despite the volume being lower, we have been consistently almost like close to the capacity. And we might have to now work on increasing our capacities further, because we have been fortunately getting more businesses. So maybe soon we may have to increase our capacity in PV alloy wheel as well, beyond what we are doing in Bawal. So we might have to expand in Gujarat as well.
Okay, sure. And the second question was on EV components. We have highlighted the content, but if I see your current product portfolio, we are the market leaders in most of the components we supply. How do you see the market share stabilizing in the new age component for electric vehicles? And what would be your, target market share where you see, which would be a more of a success or a great business to be in?
So definitely, very good question, Ronak. So in terms of target, we all know, I think we communicated very clearly in past that whatever business or product we enter into, our target always is to have a minimum 30% size of the cake in terms of market share. We don't want to be a fringe player of single digit percentage and then we have no choice but to then be dependent on what our competition does with us. So our target always remains at least 30% share in whatever business we are. Now, specifically what is our share of business today, I think it's very, very difficult to comment, because what is happening is that the volumes are so low. Normally, OEs are also, you have to appreciate, they can't have multiple sources when the volumes are low, because then you have to have two development costs, etc. And EV volume itself are so low, it's very difficult at this stage to sort of guess what is going to be our market share point forward. But rest assured, I think we are sticking to our target. Whatever products we are in, our target remains undiluted.
Right. But based on, the current, production, let's say whatever it is, maybe around 1 lakh units, will our market share be in double digits right now, based on your understanding?
Honestly, we have to get back on this, Ronak. We are not even calculated that.
Okay, sure. No, thank you and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Siddharth Bera from Nomura. Please go ahead.
So thanks for the opportunity. Sir, on the EV side, again, we see that you are also considering other larger probably opportunities like the motors and controllers. So some thoughts here that given that this is a sort of a slightly higher technology expertise side, and we have many players here again making these things. How do you assess your strength to make and supply these components? Do we look for any tech partner here, or where are we in terms of the planning? So just to understand that.
Yeah. So, Siddharth, I think again a very good question. So motor controller, definitely we have been working in-house. So that's something our teams have been working for quite some time, and we hope that we should be able to do on our own. In terms of motor, definitely we might need some technical support. So while as of now the teams have been working in R&D, we are also looking parallelly for some technical support from a technology partner.
Okay. So, based on your assessment, probably how soon can we start or look for this moving into production? Any timelines you can share on that?
I don't want to speculate, Siddharth. Once we have got full visibility, let me come back to you. And
Okay, sure.
It will be in the near future. It won't be too far.
Got it. And sir, on this ADAS side, again, there are a lot of opportunities there. I mean, I think in TT that we used to do only the RPAS. So any thought here, any more products we can add, or we are working on this side?
So as I said, we have recently won a large camera business, and the annual peak value is more than 100 crores for that business. So, and that is something which will step forward in terms of that all-round what you call 360 view and all that stuff. So we are working on it. Even the camera addition was a big step forward, which is the revenue is even much more than what is the existing business of TT, Minda TT. So we are very, very positive on ADAS what you call products as well. And in fact, even if we see from that original path, what we have sort of taken with TT, yes, there was a step back in terms of local manufacturing, but that relationship definitely continues. So as and when sort of market demands, we will be ready with the products. Initially, maybe we may have to do a bit of trading, but gradually we'll see once volumes increase, how do we have a local manufacturing as well.
Okay, got it. And will it be possible to share the profit of Roki and TG Minda for this quarter at least?
Normally, Siddharth, we have stopped sharing quarterly profits because of sensitivity from customer and other competition perspective.
Okay, sir. No issues. Thanks a lot. I'll come back.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Suraj Fateh-Chandani from Compound Everyday Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. So my question was, how much revenue do you think we have lost because of the semiconductor shortage issue?
How much of revenue we have lost?
Due to the semiconductor shortage issue, you said in the introduction that we had demand, but there was supply shortage due to semiconductor issue.
No, so we all know that. I'll give you an example. So while we had a broad indication from customer for rolling 3-month basis, and I think we all would have read in news also there is speculation that Maruti is planning to produce 180K volume in a month, but for the component shortage they had to limit it to 120 or 130. So that is the kind of delta we have seen with some of the customers in terms of impact because of semiconductor shortage. Now, if I have to put a number to it, it's very difficult because it's a mix of that with customer to customer. So some customer it was like down by 30%, somewhere it was down by 20%, somewhere maybe a little more. But definitely there was a significant impact because of the semiconductor shortage. Because I think we also know as a layman, if we have to go to market to buy a vehicle, the wait time is almost like up to 6 to 8 months.
Understood. Got it, sir. Got it. And lastly, sir, so the current debt levels, should we assume that these are the common debt levels which company would like to maintain?
No, so we have said very categorically for last, I think, many years now. Our max debt to EBITDA level is 1:1. Today we are fortunately very, very low, primarily because of QIP and the decision we took during the second phase, because nobody knew what will happen post second phase, if there will be third wave of COVID or no. So as we discussed in the last call, there was a conscious call being taken by the board to stay fit, and that's why this QIP was done. Otherwise, our balance sheet was even healthy without that. The whole purpose, we have taken the decision, maybe in hindsight, one can say we could have avoided, but that time the market was very different. We all knew that the country had suffered very badly in second wave, and we have taken decision at that point in time that it's better to stay fit and reduce some of the debt, and that is why we have done that QIP. But in no way we are saying that we will reduce our target, because if we have to consistently grow and we have to grow more than what the industry grows, which if you see in this quarter, while our growth on top line is 30%, even if you exclude the impact because of the commodity price increase, we have grown north of 20%, whereas industry overall volumes are flat. So if we have to continuously grow the business, we might have to consistently invest in our capacities. As you also shared, for example, that for a PV alloy wheel, while we are currently in expansion mode in Bawal, we might have to go for another expansion in Gujarat. So fortunately, we have been getting good businesses, and to meet those kind of growth, aspirational growth, we might have to consistently sort of reinvest in our business.
Perfect. Got it, sir. Got it. That would be all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for that. Participants, a reminder to everybody, please restrict your questions to 2 per participant. The next question is from the line of Mumuksh Mandisha from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I just want to understand in others product, it has grown by 63% YOY. So other than the sensors, how was the growth in blow molding, PCB and lead batteries?
So other than sensors, how much is the growth in blow molding? And
blow molding, PCB and lead batteries.
So blow molding growth is almost like 10% plus on a quarter-to-quarter basis. Battery and all also have done actually very well. So while it is part of our aftermarket, because battery mostly we are selling in through our aftermarket division, but it has grown almost 20% or so compared to the last Q2.
And so on PCB?
What?
Catholic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Minda Catholic also has grown significantly. I think last year to this year we have grown more than 50% because we have added some capacity, and now we are also adding more capacity this year. So Catholic has grown more than 50% on year-on-year basis.
And so how do you see the ramp up for the two-wheeler alloy wheel and the sensors over the next few years, considering some low production, and so how do you see the ramp up for this both this division?
So two-wheeler alloy wheel, as I said, we should actually after we commission this fourth line, we should be almost at capacity by end of the fiscal.
Okay, full capacity. And for sensors, sir?
Sensors has actually been doing very well. So sensor business, if you see last year versus this year, it has grown more than 20-25%. And today we are at a run rate of almost like 220 odd crore annualized. Even if I see central control put together, it is like 270-280 crore run rate. So when we have shared a couple of years back, we said our annual target is almost like 500-600 crores in the next 4 years or so, and we are sticking to the target.
Right. So there's a last question on the capex and investment plan for this year.
So as of now, there is no change in capex plan than what we have shared earlier. we might have to expand a little bit of capacity. Just it does this. Definitely will come back once it is recommended to the board and approved.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vibhishan Jagtap from Canara Robeco AMC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for taking my question. So my question is on Minda Kosai. I think you earlier highlighted that the production to start from the quarter 4 of FY22 onwards. So are we still on the schedule?
You are referring to the LPDC?
Yes.
Or the Bawal expansion?
Yes, correct. From 120 to 180.
That is Bawal expansion. Yeah. So we are sticking to that target of end of the year, starting of the commission.
So when the commercial production will start?
Yeah, there won't be much gap. Maybe a month or so here and there.
Okay. And the secondly, on lighting business, the new plant which we are setting up for the 4-wheeler, which is in Gujarat. So are we done with it or?
No, that is just started. That will take little more time. Ankur, what was the timeline we said originally? It was, I'm missing it, Q.
This was, September next year. That is September 22.
Yeah, because we just started the project work there a month or two back.
Okay. And sir, at the beginning you mentioned that the RM or probably the increase was largely passed on. Is it possible for you to quantify how much we have taken or how much is yet to get?
We have quantified, but we will not share these kind of numbers. But I can tell you whatever was the increase due as per contract we have received broadly.
Okay. That's it from my end, sir. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from the line of Peter Uday from Hema Wealth Management. Please go ahead.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Sir, my question is that in the last few years, in terms of Indian domestic numbers, the CM numbers were highest in 2019 for 24 million for 2-wheelers and over 4 million for passenger vehicles. So I just want to understand for FY22 and 23 as a company, what numbers are you guys working with? Are you thinking the high water mark of 2019 can be breached 2 consecutive years? Given the constraints on the demand situation, as a company, what is your view for the next 2 years?
No, so I don't think our view matters much because it's different for different customers, because we all know that everybody has been impacted because of this semiconductor issue, and which is, as we said, we are expecting it going into middle of maybe 2022. But for this semiconductor shortage, if it has not been there, what internally we have been sort of working on is that definitely industry volumes of the previous peak. The expectation is we should see that in again 22-23. So that is the broad thing we are working. But when we see internally, we see a lot more than that. Industry volumes is one reference point. Our target normally is how do we increase our share of business year on year, because even if the industry volume remains same and if we are able to increase our share of business, we will continue to grow. So our normally internal target is, irrespective of whatever industry volumes are going to happen, are we growing our share of business year on year? So that has been the target for our businesses and our marketing teams.
And would that be similar to your strategy in Europe as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Raghunandan NL from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Most of my questions are answered. Firstly, considering the improvement in chip supplies, how do you see the increase in production schedules for you in 3Q compared to 2Q? Secondly, many ancillaries are trying to get into EV-related parts. Would there be pricing pressure given your aspiration of 30% market share? And also, if you can share, how many customers does the company have in electric 2-wheelers in domestic market?
Okay. So I think you asked 3 or 4 questions. I have not written all. So first you said, I'll start from bottom. Two-wheeler EV customers, I think we have almost 4 or 5 large EV customers who currently we are servicing. Then you said 30% share of business, does it pose any challenge because of a lot of people getting into ancillary business? I must tell you, Raghunandan, if you see, we are already more than 30% in most of our businesses, be it lighting, be it acoustic, be it switches, be it wheels. So most of our major business we are already
EV side.
No, so EV side, yes, you are right. A lot of people are working on getting into, but it is, I think, easier said than done, because even if you are a OE player, I don't want to take any name, but if you are an existing OE player or even the new age OE, you will always like to have a reliable partner and not only cost as a driver. So from that perspective, Minda has got a credibility and experience of more than 6 decades, and with almost at least existing OEMs, we have been working for more than at least a decade, if not less. Maybe with some of them, we are more than 3 decades. So if you see from that perspective, we have got that credibility and delivery established fully. So if at all, I think we should be the supplier of choice rather than any newcomer on the block. And our strength has always been technological-led products, and also the just-in-time delivery, manufacturing, etc., what we call QCDD, quality, cost, delivery, and development. So even though if you might have a competition, as a customer, you will always would like to have a reliable supplier, because if you cut corners and if there is some supply shortage from your vendor partner, your entire line stops. So nobody will take the risk of line stoppage. So from that perspective, I think we are very, very well placed. And even with the new age OEMs, we are finding that traction. Yes, initially we were, maybe a year back, we were a little late, but I think we have caught up, and we are there now with the new age EV players. So to answer, cut the long story short, there might be challenges. And having said that, even the existing products, we have enough challenge. But I think we have time and again proved our results, delivery, and we have stayed to our commitment of delivering to our customers. So I think all in all, we are not too much worried of competition, because even in the existing business, there is a hell lot of competition.
Thank you for that reassurance. That gives a lot of confidence on the EV side. And just that other question, like on the PV side, how are you seeing the increase in production schedules for 3Q versus 2Q?
Honestly, not much of improvement, because still there is significant impact because of semiconductor shortages. So overall, if you see Q3 to Q2, I am personally not expecting any significant volume growth. Because there is one more factor. In Q3, you have a couple of shutdowns also. You have festive season, which just happened for Diwali. Then you will have, again, the holiday is post-Christmas, there's annual shutdowns. So that also has some impact on volumes.
Got it, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Raghunandan.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nagendra from GrowthX Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. So just one question on this JV side, that's Minda TT Dam Private Limited. So that JV is going to dissolve in some time. So I just wanted to know how much top line it was contributing, and post that entering into this main company, what are your targets from this JV?
So your first question was how much of revenue this what we call Minda TT has been contributing. So definitely it has not been consolidated in Minda TT. First of all, it was a joint venture. The revenue was not consolidated. But irrespective of that, I think last quarter they did something like 14-15 crore worth of revenue.
40-50 crore?
14-15, 1-4.
Okay. So what is your goal with this target JV if it is consolidated into main company?
So what we said is that as of now, Nagendra, we will move the entire business from MTTE to Minda Industries. So business continues as it is. It just moves from a JV entity to a parent entity, and we move from what we call in terms of simplification. It's simple structure. We get out of entity because we are not adding any significant value there, and whatever business we have in pipeline, like we just adding the camera business also, that all will come in MIL, and we continue to work for growth of this ADAS business. So our focus remains irrespective of whether this JV was there or no. In fact, now we have got better flexibility also, because when we were having this JV, we were also bound by the JV process, where obviously we had exclusivity with TTE, which will no longer we will be having once we move to a trading business. So it will also give us a lot more flexibility in maybe getting into little, if required, another some technology support, etc.
Okay, then that's all from us.
Thanks, Sajjan.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shashank Kanodia from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. So in your opening remarks, you mentioned about adding 2 more new age EV OEMs in your portfolio. So could you name them, or could you share some more about the customers whom you are supplying the EV products?
Normally, we don't name customers, Shashank.
Or sir, to be specific, have you onboarded Ola Electric? Yes. You can just publish.
No.
Yes, sir. Okay, no. Right. Second, sir, on the long-term basis, you have always maintained a margin guidance of 12 to 14%. So that still remains true, right? Or is there a scope for an upward revision over there?
I won't say upward revision. We are sticking to our 12% plus kind of guidance. But what has happened, if you have seen, and I think I also tried to explain, even though the cost escalations, cost increases, we have been able to sort of pass on with our customers based on the different agreements we have, it actually dilutes in absolute percent. I'll give you an example, and maybe a very broad.
Absolute cost pass is the point that you alluded to, right? If there's 100 rupees increase in cost, probably you have increased that in realizations as well. So mathematically, the margins optically look less, right? So that is the concept.
Yes. So absolute, you are able to maintain absolute profit, but percentage-wise, it will drop.
Right. Understood, sir. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll take the last question from the line of Vijay Karpe from Branston Investment. Please go ahead.
Thank you for giving this opportunity. Sir, we talked about the increase in penetration of alloy wheels. So the aluminum pricing has shot up drastically. So is that not impacting the affordability of alloy wheels, and will that impact the increase in penetration in the short to medium term?
So to answer to your point straight, Vijay, it does not impact immediately. Yes, you might be right that in medium to long term, it might impact a little bit of demand, where maybe the penetration one would have expected to go from say 35% to 50% in 3 years. It might go to maybe a little less. But today, whatever is the volume lineup, right? Normally, it is very difficult to just shift from an alloy wheel to a steel wheel. And secondly, today alloy wheel is something which a customer is asking. So if a OE does not provide, it actually might impact the eventual sale of the vehicle. So yes, OE can give an option because the costs are going up of alloy versus steel. But we are pretty confident that the penetration continues to grow. And the reason for our confidence is that our alloy wheel in the OE SPD, the spare part division, continues to grow, which means that people whosoever are even buying a steel wheel, maybe after some time going for a replacement of steel to alloy. So it is also driven a lot by what customer prefers to buy. So if customer is willing to shell out that money for a fancy alloy wheel, definitely that draws in the mind of the customer as well in terms of the OE customer. Now, just answer to your point also, if you see globally, the alloy wheel penetration in developed markets is almost like 80 to 90%, and we are still in 30s. When we started, we were in teens. So we have been catching up, but there is a long road to catch up, and we are pretty confident that despite this whatever price rise, we will continue to see the increase in penetration of alloy wheel versus steel wheel. And that also is proven in some way, the way we have been fortunately securing some of the businesses and expanding our capacities.
Great. And my last question pertains to the reconciliation of the four-wheelers alloy wheel capacity at the end of FY21. In Bawal we had 120K wheels, and in Gujarat we had 60,000 wheels. So by the end of FY22, what will this move to?
Bawal will be around 180, hopefully, assuming that project comes online on time. Gujarat will be 60 plus maybe another 20, which we are trying to debottleneck, add some capacity here and there, and plus another 15, 20 of the LPDC. So overall, Gujarat may be close to 100, and Bawal may be 180, so around 280.
Okay. And then you also talked about we will require more capacities. So what will be those capacities like, and when will they come?
So as of now, there is no proposal which has come to the board, but we are actually working on a drawing board that we might need to expand our capacities in Gujarat, because we have been fortunate to get more businesses, and to meet that business, we will have to expand our capacities. So normally what we have been growing is our multiple of 30K in LPDC, 30K capacity per month. So if at all, the minimum expansion will be 30K.
Great. Thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Sunil Bora for closing comments.
Thank you. So I would like to thank